Okay, so this is a continuation of our discussion previously about the Republic Act number 544, or what has been known as an act to regulate the practice of civil engineering in the Philippines. So we had discussed already the Article 1 and 2 in the previous meeting. So right now we will be discussing Article 3. And in Article 3, this talks about examination and registration of civil engineering students who completed the course of Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering and who aspire to take the licensure for civil engineering through PRC. So in Section 8, it talks about the examination requirement. All applicants for registration for the practice of civil engineering shall be required to pass the technical examinations as herein provided. Section 9, it is about holding of examination. Examination of candidates desiring to practice civil engineering in the Philippines shall be given in the city of Manila of each year, provided that such days do not fall on official holidays. Otherwise, the examinations shall be held on the days next following. Okay, in Section 9, it has been mentioned there that the examination will be conducted only in Manila. However, based on the current updates, the testing centers are now available in Manila, Baguio, Cagayan de Oro, Cebu, Davao, Iloilo, and Legazpi, where in fact I even took my licensure exam in Cebu last November 2016. So the current chairman right now in PRC is Engineer Praxidis B. Bernardo. And for the updates, takers of the following examinations scheduled in November 2020 will have to wait further assessment and possible postponement of the exams. And this is because through the factors affecting like availability of the examination venues, exam personnel, and ever-changing dynamic changes in the situation as defined by IATF because of the current COVID-19 pandemic. And this info has been excerpted in a virtual meeting with the House of Representatives last July, where PRC discussed this issue and gave recommendations for the conduct of the remaining tests this year. So we'll proceed to Section 10, which talks about subjects of examination. It is stated here that applicants for certificate of registration as civil engineer shall be examined in the discretion of the board on the following subjects: mathematics, including algebra, plane and spherical trigonometry, analytics, descriptive and solid geometry, differential and integral calculus, and rational and applied mechanics, hydraulics, surveying, including highway and railroad surveying, plane topographic and hydrographic surveying, and advanced surveying, design and construction of highways and railroads, masonry structures, wooden and reinforced concrete buildings, bridges, towers, walls, foundations, piers, ports, wharves, aqueducts, sanitary engineering works, water supply systems, dikes, dams, and irrigation and drainage canals. So in section 10, actually class, those are the mentioned subjects in general based on this Republic Act. However, the examination, as you may know, it will be conducted in 2 days, like, because the civil engineering board exam will usually fall in the month of May and November of each year. And in each examination, it will composed of a 2-day examination. So the 2-day examination is comprised of the following subjects with listed syllabi and their corresponding weight. So the following subjects are divided into 3. First is mathematics and surveying, with a weight of 35%. Then second is about hydraulics with a weight of 30%. And the third is on design and construction with a weight of 35%. So it totals around 100%. Basically, I will attach, in the description of this video, I will attach the whole information about civil engineering board exam in the Philippines, so that even if as early as now you already have the knowledge as to what to expect in the coming board exam that you're going to take in 5 years or 6 or 8, 9th year, 10th year, depending on when do you want to graduate in civil engineering. So, but as much as possible, I try to encourage you guys to be attentive, be responsible in your class, so that you can graduate as how your parents are expecting you to graduate, or when your parents are expecting you to graduate, like without failure grades in any of your civil engineering or minor subjects. So all about civil engineering, I will attach this information in the description of this video. And then right now I'll just talk about a summary of it. So you already know the 3 divisions of the subjects. Again, these are the mathematics and surveying, and the hydraulics, design and construction. So how is the examination conducted? Here is the overview of how the test is being conducted as per Resolution Number 02, Series of 1995 of Board of Civil Engineering. First, the examination shall be totally computerized unless otherwise officially announced. Then, the board shall provide a minimum of 500 questions for each subject, from which the computer of the commission will select at random on the day or a few days prior to the examination of the questions to be given. The number of questions for each subject shall not be less than 20 at 4 points each. The maximum number of questions shall not be more than 100 at 1 point each. The examination shall be closed books and notes. Examinees shall be given 10 computation and scratch sheets, which must be submitted with the answer sheets. Electronic and scientific calculators are allowed. However, programmable calculators and pocket personal computers are not allowed and will be confiscated if brought to the examination room. So, what is the passing grade for civil engineering board exam? A general average of 70% with no grades lower than 50% in any given subject must be obtained by the candidate to pass the exam. So those are the important facts that you need to know that falls in Section 10. And then in Section 11, it talks about Executive Officer of the Board. The Commissioner of Professional Regulation Commission shall be the Executive Officer of the Board and shall conduct the examinations given by the said Board. He shall designate any subordinate officer of the Professional Regulation Commission to act as the Secretary and Custodian of all records, including examination papers and minutes of the deliberation of the Board. Section 12. Qualifications for examination. Qualifications for examination. Any person applying for admission to the civil engineering examination as herein provided shall, prior to the date of the examination, establish to the satisfaction of the Board that he has the following classifications. A. Be at least 21 years of age. B. Be a citizen of the Philippines. C. Be of good reputation and moral character. D. Be a graduate of a 4-year course in civil engineering from a school, institute, college, or university recognized by the government or the state wherein it is established. Okay, so it is so clear. The qualifications, only 4 qualifications for you to be able to take the licensure for civil engineering. Other than that, you will not be allowed by the PRC to take the exam. Section 13. Oath of Civil Engineers. All successful candidates in the examination shall be required to take a professional oath before the Board of Civil Engineers or other government officials authorized to administer oaths prior to entering upon the practice of the civil engineering profession. So, as with the Negros Oriental Civil Engineering Board passers, commonly the PICE chapter in Negros Oriental will conduct a one-time event for the oath-taking of the passers of Silliman University and the Negros Oriental State University. So, it's quite a big and nice event because your parents will be invited, parents or guardians will be invited during your oath-taking. Commonly, as I can remember, the recent oath-taking was held in Hotel Essentia. And it's just the officers of PICE Negros who will conduct the activity and will just inform you where and when will be the oath-taking will be held. And then next, Section 14. Seal and use of seal. All registered civil engineers shall obtain a seal of such design as the Board shall authorize and direct, provided, however, that the serial number of the certificate issued by the Board shall be included in the design of the seal. Plans and specifications prepared by or under the direct supervision of a registered civil engineer shall be stamped with said seal during the life of the registrant's certificate, and it shall be unlawful for anyone to stamp or seal any documents with said seal after the certificate of registrant name thereon has expired or has been revoked, unless said certificate shall have been renewed or reissued. So, commonly, class, the seal, the one that is a steel one, based on the previous price I inquired, it cost around 7,000 the stamp, the seal. However, There are cheaper ones available that is made of rubber, that wherein you can pay around 1,000 plus. It depends, but officially, once you are already a registered civil engineer, it's also so nice if you have your own seal made of that steel stamp. Okay, so section 15, exemption from registration. First, registration shall not be required of the following persons: A. Officers or enlisted men in the United States and Philippine Armed Forces and civilian employees of the government of the United States stationed in the Philippines while rendering civil engineering services for the United States and or Philippines. B. Civil engineers or experts called in by the Philippine government for consultation or specific designant construction of fixed structures as defined under this act, provided that their practice shall be limited to such work. Number 2. Any person residing in the Philippines may make plans and specifications for any of the following. A. Any building in chartered cities, in towns with building ordinances not exceeding the space requirement specified therein, requiring the services of a civil engineer. B. Any wooden building enlargement or alteration which is to be used for farm purposes only and costing not more than 10,000 pesos. C. Provided, however, that there shall be nothing in this act that will prevent any person from constructing his own wooden or light material residential house, utilizing the services of a person or persons required for the purpose without the use of a civil engineer, as long as he does not violate local ordinances of the place where the building is to be constructed. Number 3. Nor shall anything in this act prevent draftsmen, student, clerk or work, superintendents, and other employees of those lawfully engaged in the practice of civil engineering under the provisions of this act from acting under the instruction, control, or supervision of their employer. This applies to especially to construction companies, wherein the construction company is owned by a civil engineer. So of course, their staff and employees, you cannot expect that all of them are also civil engineers. So they could have draftsmen, or just clerk, or just practicing students, or on-the-job training students who will be performing civil engineering work under the supervision of a registered civil engineer. So any of those employees are eligible to do their job, but making sure that it's under the supervision of a registered civil engineer. And number 4, nor shall anything in this act prevent any person who prior to the approval of this act have been lawfully engaged in the practice of maestro de obras to continue as such, provided they shall not undertake the making of plans or provisions for the following classes of work. A. Building of concrete, whether reinforced or not. B. Building of more than 2 stories. C. Building with frames of structural steel. D. Building of structures intended for public gathering or assemblies such as theaters, cinematographs, stadia, churches, or structures of like nature. Number 5. Nor shall anything in this act prevent professional architects and engineers practice their professions. Now, let us proceed to Section 16. Section 16 is the refusal to issue certificate. The Board of Civil Engineers shall not issue a certificate to any person convicted by a court of competent jurisdiction or any criminal offense involving moral, turpitude, or to any person guilty of immoral or dishonorable conduct, or to any person of unsound mind, yes, in the event of a refusal to issue a certificate to any person, the board shall give the applicant a written statement setting forth its reason for such action, which statement shall be incorporated in the records of the board. So in section 16, all you have to remember is to always uphold the integrity and honor to your profession as a future civil engineer. Section 17. Section 17 is about suspension and revocation of certificates. The board shall have the power, after due notice and hearings, to suspend or revoke the certificate of registration for any cause mentioned in the preceding section, mentioned in section 16. Then in section 18, we have there reissue and replacement of certificates. The board may, after the expiration of 1 year from the date of certificate of registration is revoked for the reasons it may deem sufficient, entertain an application for a new certificate of registration from the registrant concerned. Such application shall be accomplished in the same form prescribed for examination, but the board may, in its discretion, exempt the applicant from taking the requisite examination. Now, lastly, in section 19, we have there the transitory provisions. As soon as this act takes effect, in any person desiring to practice the profession of civil engineering shall be required to obtain a certificate of registration in the manner and under the conditions herein provided. All civil engineers duly licensed under the provisions of Act number 2985 as amended at the time this act takes effect shall be automatically registered under the provisions hereof. Certificates of registration held by such persons in good standing shall have the same force and effect as though the same have been issued under the provisions of this act. All graduates in civil engineering from a school, institute, college, or university recognized by the government who have passed the civil engineer service examination for senior civil engineer and have been practicing or employed in the government as such during 5 years are exempted from taking examination. For section 19, okay, if you want to know more about the transitory provisions, you may refer this because it has been mentioned about the civil service examination. Civil service examination is a different examination for general professionals. Like any professional can take civil service examination. However, it is a different examination from the licensure examination for civil engineers. So, to know more about transitory provisions and this exemption of examination, like it has been mentioned that the senior civil engineer who has been practicing 5 years will be exempted from taking examination. For more details about this, you may either contact the PRC and refer to the senior civil engineers whom you know in your area, or else you may also contact me through email for more detailed instruction or detailed facts about this. Okay, that ends our discussion for Article 3, and then we will proceed for Article 4.